Good morning, folks. It's an important time of the year, and today I'm going to talk about candles because this is the season of Advent. Now, if I were able to go to church the way we used to here at First Lutheran, last Sunday would have been when we light the first candle of Advent, which is called the candle of prophecy. And next Sunday, and a family comes up, and we got this great big wreath. It's flat, and there are 4 candles. And the second week, a family will go up and they'll light candle number 1 and candle number 2. And the second candle is called the candle of Bethlehem. Well, there'll be 2 more candles to go, and I'll talk about them later. The third candle is the candle of the shepherds, and the 4th candle is the candle of the angels. So I'll try to explain a little bit of this. I even wrote a book about it. Look at that. It's got my name on it. We'll talk about the candle of prophecy. Now, prophets weren't people who just predicted the future. The biblical word for prophets was the people who tell the truth. And if you know the truth, then you can kind of figure out what the future is going to be. As we light the first candle again, which we do every year, we think of a prophet who saw the presence of the Lord in the coming of a child. The prophet was Isaiah, and the child was named Emmanuel, which means God is with us. And this was long before Jesus. It was a little child who was born long before Jesus. Well, it happened at a time of great national emergency. Oh, we know what that is. In the history of the very little kingdom of Judah. When the war was threatening the land, and the giant superpower of that time was Syria, and it was cruel and greedy, and the king of Judah decided, well, if he could get together with the kings of Syria and Israel, maybe they could stop those guys. But when King Ahaz said no to the request of Israel and Syria, those 2 kingdoms decided to declare war on him. Oh dear. Poor King Ahaz, who was king of the littlest kingdom of all, says his heart and the heart of his people shook as the trees in the forest shake before the wind. The king went out to inspect the city's waterworks, wondering whether Jerusalem could hold out in a military siege. And maybe they should build a special water tunnel. But the prophet had these words to say: "It shall not happen, it shall not be. For the head of Syria is only Damascus, and the head of Damascus is King Rezin. And the head of Ephraim is only Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you do not trust, you will not be trustworthy." Well, there's a psalm which talks about what things happen. And the psalm is Psalm 33, where we have these lines: "The Lord changes the will of nations and hinders the plans of people. The king is not saved by great armies, nor the hero by great strength. The Lord's eyes on those who fear him and who hope in his kindness." Well, King Ahaz was not up to such faith. He continued to fear and act in fear, and the prophet went on and said, "Ask the sign of the Lord your God. Let it be as deep as hell or as high as heaven." And the king answered, "I will not ask. I will not test the Lord." Well, then the prophet said, "There's going to be a baby boy born. A young woman shall conceive and bear a son and call his name Emmanuel." And that's why Jesus was called Emmanuel much later on. There was a real little boy called Emmanuel way back then, 8 centuries before Jesus. So that's what the first candle is about. And that's the candle that was lit last Sunday. Now, the second candle is called the candle of Bethlehem. Now, we have a wonderful Christmas carol about Bethlehem. O little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark street shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Isn't that a lovely hymn? One of the oldest stories about Bethlehem, I'm reading from my own book now, is the story. It includes a woman named Ruth and a woman named Naomi and a man named Boaz. As the story begins, the family of a man named Elimelech, nice name, Elimelech means my God is king, was forced to leave the village of Bethlehem because of a famine there. Now, a famine in Bethlehem was hardly proper, for the name Bethlehem means house of bread. But it's down in that part of the country where sometimes there can be a long drought. It's kind of like Arizona in our country. So to say that there was a famine in Bethlehem was to say that there was no longer any bread there in the house of bread. Oh dear. So Elimelech migrated east to Moab. Now, Bethlehem, and I lived just 8 miles from Bethlehem one summer. It's on the high hills about 2,000 feet above sea level. But if you look across the deepest valley in the world, the Valley of the Dead Sea, which is 1,000 feet deeper than California's Death Valley. But they looked across, and lo and behold, the grass was green over in the country of Moab. Well, so they went there. And the 2 sons married Moabite women. But alas, both father and the 2 sons died. And the 3 women were left without husbands. Naomi, the mother, which means loveliness, and her 2 daughters-in-law, Ruth, which means beautiful, and Orpah. Then came the line in the story that says, she started with her daughter-in-law Ruth to return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people to give them bread. Now, Jewish people to this day have a special table prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, blessed are you, Lord our God, Melech HaOlam, King of the world, for you caused the earth to produce bread. Bread comes from God. And that's why in the Lord's Prayer we say, give us this day our daily bread. Because everything in creation, whether it's the honey from the bees or the bread from the grains, comes from God. It is always that way. God comes to us with sun and rain and good weather, and we are all fed. God is the one who provides what we eat. No matter that we go to a market to get it, no matter that it comes to our table from a kitchen at the beginning, out in the farmer's field, it is God who makes the grain grow. There are some psalms that say the same idea very beautifully. In Psalm 65 we have these lines. The cycles of morning and evening sing out, as you visit the earth and water it, and make it abundantly rich. Oh, the rain trough of God is full of water. You give root to the grain, for that's how you created it. And another song is this one, 104. They all depend upon you to give them their food in due time. You give it, they only gather. You open your hand, they have plenty. You withhold their presence, they are anxious. So the second candle is about how God keeps us going. And I remember an old Norwegian prayer. I only know it in English. Come, Lord Jesus, be our guest, and let these gifts to us be blessed. And then in the Lord's Supper, we have these lines. After supper, Jesus took the bread, broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, take it, eat it. This is my body. Well, so Christians light 4 candles. And if you did this in your home, that'd be 28 times, and then would come Christmas Eve. We get ready for Christmas by lighting candles. Nowadays, all the lights we put out. Now, I don't mean the lights we light. Electric. Lights all over town now. As we get into the longest night and shortest day of the year, which people used to call Yule. But there are some other people who light lights. Starting Saturday, Jewish people will be celebrating Hanukkah, and they will be lighting 8 candles. How do you like that? Because there's a story that comes from about 150 years before the time of Jesus, of a wicked king named Antiochus Epiphanes. Even sounds wicked, doesn't it? And he decided to make all those Jews give up their old religion. Just like Christian missionaries did in our country with the Native Americans. Sent them to special schools so they would get the Indian out of them. A very unhappy thing to do. And today the Chinese are doing this with people who have an old religion. Yep. Get them all to be good communists. Oh, when rulers decide what people should believe, it is downright wicked. So Jewish people will be lighting 8 candles, 1 each day in their homes. And they have a 9th candle called the shamash, which means the service candle. And first you light the service candle, and then you light the next one. So Jewish people are starting to do that this coming Sabbath. Sabbath for them is Saturday, isn't it? Now, isn't it interesting that at the same time of the year, for different reasons, Christians and Jewish people are lighting candles as the days become shorter and the nights become longer? Now, there's something else going on. It started out over in Sweden, and it even spread as far west as to Oslo, which is the capital of Norway, and that's fairly close to Sweden. Now, over there in Sweden, they will have a festival in honor of Santa Lucia, which means Saint Light. Who in the world was Saint Light? And this is what they'll do. They'll pick a little girl, maybe 8, 9, 10 years old, and of course she'll be blonde and blue-eyed like a good Swedish girl, and they'll put a crown on her head, and the crown will contain candles. I'm not sure how many, I think 4. And she's got to go through a special parade in the church building, and she's got to walk very straight, and we wouldn't want her hair to catch fire, so I'll bet that little girl is pretty nervous. And she walks down the aisle, and they sing a song. I don't know what song they sing, but if they sang it in old-fashioned Italian, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. I don't think they use that tune. Anyway, even little Norwegian girls who live in the south part of Norway go through this ritual. So it's kind of interesting and important that as the days get shorter, we want to celebrate light. We want to think how good light is. Now, when I was in Sunday school as a kindergarten age, my grandma was the teacher, and she had a little song she taught us. This little gospel light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, you let it shine. This little gospel light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And there was another one. You in your small corner and I in mine. Jesus bids us shine with a clear, pure light, like a little candle burning in the night. You in your small corner, I in mine. No, through in this world of darkness we must shine. You in your small corner and I in mine. I'll try it again because that's such a good one. Jesus bids us shine with a clear, pure light, like a little candle burning in the night. Through this world of darkness we must shine. You in your small corner and I in mine. And you remember when kids used to come, kids from St. Benedict's, homeschool kids, with their wonderful smiles. And when children smile, it makes old folks smile too. There's a lot of power in the smile of a child. There's a lot of power there. So, when children smile, it makes all of us smile. And we might remember that Jesus said to his followers, when mothers were bringing their babies to be blessed, and they tried to say, no, he's too busy. He said, no, let the children come to me, for of such is the kingdom of God. So I hope you get to see some children or hear them on the telephone. And I hope you have grandchildren and great-grandchildren that make you happy. And I do. And I'm very thankful for that. And here comes Andrea, and I just finished. How do you like that? Pretty good timing there, Andrea.